theropod is an extant dinosaur clade that is characterized by hollow bones and 3 toes and claws on each limb. They first appeared during the late Triassic period and included the majority of large terrestrial carnivores from the early Jurassic until at least the close of the Cretaceous. In the Jurassic, birds evolved from small specialized Coelurosaurian theropods, and are today represented by about 11,000 living species. Eodromius was a relatively small dinosaur, like most Carnian dinosaurs apart from Herosaurids. A press release estimated that its total length reaches about 1.2 meters from nose to tail. With a weight of about 5 kilograms, it was argued to be one of the oldest true theropods, supplanting its contemporary Eoraptor, which was reinterpreted as a basal sauropodomorph. Gogurysaurus is one of the largest theropods known from the Triassic period, with an estimate total length of 6 meters long and a weight of at least 150 kilograms. It can be distinguished based on the fact that its tibia is more robust than that of its relative Coelophysis. The fossils are fragmentary, consisting mainly of partial bones and teeth. Because of this, there has been some debate among paleontologists about its exact classification and relationships to other theropods. It was likely a carnivore, preying on smaller animals in its environment. Its large size compared to other contemporaneous predators suggests it may have been a top predator in its ecosystem. Zooposaurus lived during the late Triassic period. This places it among some of the earliest known theropod dinosaurs. The fossils were discovered in the Los Colorados Formation in the La Rioja province of Argentina. This region is known for its well-preserved Triassic fossils, offering valuable insights into early dinosaur evolution. Zooposaurus had a distinctive double crest running along the top of its skull, similar to some later theropods like Dilophosaurus. These crests were likely used for display, possibly for attracting mates or intimidating rivals. It is classified as a basal theropod, meaning it was part of the early evolutionary branches of theropods. It shares features with both more primitive and more derived theropods, providing important clues about the early diversification of this group. Cryolophosaurus was a large theropod from the early Jurassic, estimated to be 6 to 7 meters long and weighing between 400 kilograms. Its skull, about 65 centimeters long, features a unique nasal crest that rises over the eyes, resembling a pompadour, earning it the nickname Elvisaurus. This crest, unlike those of other theropods, runs across the skull, possibly for social display or species recognition. An unpublished study in 2013 revealed that Cryolophosaurus had a well-preserved cranial cavity, supporting its basal position in Theropoda. The crest was likely not used as a weapon but served in socio-sexual displays, possibly for mating purposes. Initially, it was thought that it choked to death on the ribs of a prosauropod, but later studies suggest these remains belonged to the Cryolophosaurus itself. All known specimens have been recovered in the Hansen Formation, which is one of only 2 major dinosaur-bearing rock formations found on the continent of Antarctica. In the early Jurassic, Antarctica was closer to the equator and the world was considerably warmer than today, but the climate was still cool temperate similar to that of modern southern Chile, and humid, with a temperature interval of 17 degrees. Models of Jurassic air flow indicate that coastal areas probably never dropped much below freezing, although more extreme conditions existed inland. Dilophosaurus is famous for the pair of thin, curved crests on its head. These crests likely played a role in display behaviors, possibly for attracting mates or signaling to other members of its species. It was a top predator in its ecosystem, preying on smaller dinosaurs and other animals. Unlike some later theropods with robust jaws, Dilophosaurus had a relatively slender and lightly built skull. This suggests it may have had a more specialized feeding strategy, possibly focusing on smaller prey or scavenging. Contrary to its portrayal in the movie Jurassic Park, there is no evidence that it was venomous or had a frill. These features were fictional additions and are not supported by the fossil record. However, fossilized trackways attributed to it suggest it was a fast and agile runner. Its long legs and lightweight build would have allowed it to chase down prey with speed and precision. It lived in a semi-arid environment with seasonal rivers and a warm climate. Despite inaccuracies, Dilophosaurus gained widespread recognition and popularity due to its portrayal in Jurassic Park, making it one of the most famous dinosaurs in popular culture. Coelophysis was a small, lightweight theropod, measuring around 2.5 to 3 meters in length and weighing about 15 to 20 kilograms. Its slender build and long legs suggest it was a fast and agile runner, likely capable of quick bursts of speed to catch prey or evade predators. As a carnivore, it likely fed on small reptiles, amphibians, and possibly early mammals. Its sharp teeth and clawed hands were well adapted for catching and eating small prey. Fossils have been found in large numbers at several sites, particularly in Ghost Ranch. These mass death assemblages suggest that Coelophysis may have lived in groups or herds, which could have provided protection against predators. Early studies suggested that it may have practiced cannibalism, based on the discovery of smaller Coelophysis bones inside the body cavities of larger individuals. However, later research indicated that these bones likely belonged to small reptiles rather than juvenile Coelophysis, casting doubt on the cannibalism theory. The discovery of multiple individuals together suggests that it may have been social, possibly living and hunting in packs, which would be unusual for early theropods. Some researchers have proposed that it might have been nocturnal or crepuscular, based on the structure of its eye sockets and the large size of its orbits, which would have given it good night vision. Megapnosaurus was a lean, elongated species of theropod dinosaur with an S-shaped neck, long hind limbs that resembled the legs of large birds such as the secretary bird, shorter forelimbs with 4 digits on each hand unlike later theropods, and a long tail. While still lean, it sported a more robust frame than other members of Coelophysoidea. Its lithe and superficially bird-like body lead to Megapnosaurus being one of the first dinosaurs to be portrayed with feathers, though there is no direct evidence that it actually had feathers. Age determination studies using growth ring counts suggest that the longevity was approximately 7 years. Recent research has found that it had highly variable growth between individuals. This highly variable growth was likely ancestral to dinosaurs but later lost, and may have given such early dinosaurs an evolutionary advantage in surviving harsh environmental challenges. Deltadromeus was a large, basal ceratosaurian from the late Cretaceous, showing again the trend of the Ceratosaurian clade to be most prevalent in the late Jurassic and mid-Cretaceous. It lived in North Africa, in the Baria Formation and Kem beds of Morocco. It was about 8 meters long, and its femur was lightly built, suggesting that it was an agile predator. A skull has not been found, but its teeth have been found, so guesses at the skull shape have been made. Its agility probably aided it in running away from the larger predatory dinosaurs that lived in the area at the time, such as Carcharodontosaurus and Spinosaurus. Its overall shape, from the fragmentary remains found, suggests that it looked like, and probably acted like, a very big Humaniraptora. Ceratosaurs are a weird and strangely diverse group of theropods that are often considered primitive, though they share many features with later theropods and became very diverse and derived in their own right. The name Spinostropheus refers to the distinctive features of its vertebrae. It had elongated neural spines on its back, which are believed to have supported a sail or hump. This spinal structure is reminiscent of other dinosaurs with similar features, though its exact function remains uncertain. Although not as famous as other theropods, Spinostropheus adds to our understanding of the diversity of predatory dinosaurs and their adaptations. Its discovery helps paleontologists piece together the puzzle of dinosaur evolution in Africa during the Jurassic period. Saltriovenator is one of the earliest known ceratosaurs, dating back to the early Jurassic period, much earlier than most other members of this group. As a basal theropod, it provides crucial insights into the origins of ceratosaurs during the Triassic-Jurassic transition. The only known specimen is a subadult, suggesting it could have grown larger than its current estimated length of 7 meters, making it one of the largest predators of its time. It had a delicate skull, narrow lower jaw, and long, narrow teeth, resembling Allosaurus more than its closer relative, Ceratosaurus. It likely fed on small to medium-sized prey and may have retained some feathers for thermoregulation. The fossil was found in an aquatic formation, but Saltriovenator likely lived near the coast, possibly feeding on small animals and fish, including sharks. Geniodectes was an early Cretaceous ceratosaurian from the Aptian Age, around 112 million years ago. It was found in the Canadon Grande in the Chubut province of Argentina. It's not known from many remains, mainly just the front of the jaw and upper mandible and many teeth. However, given the arrangement of the teeth, it seems to resemble Ceratosaurus more than other theropods. Given that, it was only recently that it was classified as such, and has been named everything from a megalosaurid to a tyrannosaurid. However, recent removal from its display matrix has allowed it to be classified as a ceratosaur. It was also one of the earliest dinosaurs found in South America. Ceratosaurus is easily recognized by the prominent horn on its nose, which is unique among theropods. This horn, made of bone, likely served a display function, possibly for attracting mates or intimidating rivals, rather than for combat. It had a mix of both primitive and advanced features, making it an important species for understanding theropod evolution. While it had characteristics typical of early theropods, like a more primitive pelvis, it also possessed features found in more advanced theropods, such as the fusion of certain skull bones. It had long, blade-like teeth that were well suited for slicing through the flesh of its prey. These teeth were serrated, making them highly effective for cutting and tearing meat. Some paleontologists believe Ceratosaurus might have had semi-aquatic tendencies, similar to modern crocodiles. This is based on the structure of its teeth and the discovery of fossils in areas that were once river or lake environments, suggesting it may have hunted fish and other aquatic prey in addition to land animals. Fossilized skin impressions of Ceratosaurus show that it had a pebbly texture, similar to that of modern reptiles. These impressions provide rare insights into the skin and potential coloration of this dinosaur. Some evidence suggests that Ceratosaurus may have been more of an opportunistic feeder, possibly scavenging and eating a wider variety of prey than just large animals, including small vertebrates, fish, and possibly even plants if the opportunity arose. Mesiocosaurus is most famous for its forward-projecting teeth, which are unlike those of any other known theropod. These teeth were likely adapted for catching and holding onto slippery prey like fish or small animals, making Mesiocosaurus a specialized predator. Its teeth were not well suited for tearing flesh like those of larger theropods but were ideal for grasping and swallowing prey whole. It was relatively small compared to many other theropods, measuring about 2 meters in length. Despite its small size, it was a nimble and agile hunter, well suited to its environment. It belongs to the group known as Noasauridae, a family of small to medium-sized theropods. Nosaurids are relatively rare compared to other theropod groups, and Mesiocosaurus is one of the most well-known members of this family. It lived in a diverse ecosystem in Madagascar, alongside other dinosaurs, crocodiles, and various prehistoric reptiles. The environment was likely warm and tropical, with a variety of habitats that supported a rich array of life. Its discovery has provided valuable insights into the paleoecology of late Cretaceous Madagascar. Its specialized feeding adaptations suggest that it filled a unique ecological niche, helping scientists understand how different species coexisted and interacted in this ancient ecosystem. Noasaurus was a small theropod, estimated to be about 1.5 meters long and weighing around 15 kilograms. Its maxilla had at least 11 recurved teeth with serrations on both the front and rear edges. The neck was likely long, supported by elongated, vertically compressed vertebrae, a characteristic trait of Abelisaurids. Initially, it was believed that Noasaurus had a sickle-like claw on its foot, similar to Dromaeosaurids, which led to the theory that it used the claw for disemboweling prey. However, later studies revealed that this claw was actually part of the hand, not the foot. This finding refuted earlier assumptions about its hunting techniques and its evolutionary convergence with Dromaeosaurids. Elaphrosaurus was a long and slender theropod with a long neck, distinguished by its relatively short legs for its body length. It measured about 6 meters in length and weighed around 200 kilograms. The dinosaur is known primarily from a nearly complete skeleton, though no skull has been found. Its tibia was longer than its femur, suggesting it was adapted for running, and it had a long tail with a rare downward bend. It was too small to prey on the sauropods and stegosaurs present in its paleo environment, and instead, it likely hunted the small and swift ornithopod herbivores. However, newer studies support the idea that Elaphrosaurus was an herbivore or omnivore, owing to its close relation with Limosaurus and a neck which is much less flexible than those characteristic of carnivorous theropods. Limosaurus was a small, slender animal, about 1.7 meters in length and 15 kilograms in weight, which had a long neck and legs but very small forelimbs. It underwent a drastic morphological transformation as it aged. While juveniles were toothed, these teeth were completely lost and replaced by a beak with age. Several of these features were convergently similar to the later ornithomimid theropods as well as the earlier non-dinosaurian Shuvosaurids. It was the first known member of the group Ceratosauria from Asia. The pattern of digit reduction in Limosaurus has been used to support the hypothesis that the three-fingered hand of tetaneuran theropods is the result of the loss of the first and fifth digits from the ancestral five-fingered theropod hand, a contested hypothesis which is relevant to the evolution of birds. The change to toothlessness in adults probably corresponded to a dietary shift from omnivory to herbivory, which is confirmed by the presence of gastroliths in adults. Vespersaurus was fairly lightly built with legs proportioned for running, and its feet were absolutely unique. Although it had the standard 3 main toes of a theropod, it bore its weight entirely on the middle toe and held the other digits off the ground. The 2 raised toes on each foot also had large knife-like claws which may have been used during hunting, vaguely similar to the sickle claws on the feet of dromaeosaurs. But unlike dromaeosaurs, these claws weren't highly curved or pointed, suggesting Vespersaurus used more of a scratching and slashing technique rather than the raptor's puncture and restraint strategy. Much like ancient horses, it may have developed its single-toed stance as an adaptation for more efficient fast running, possibly to avoid larger predators or to chase down small fast-moving prey like hopping desert mammals. Spectrovenator was an early member of the Abelisaurid lineage, living in southeastern Brazil during the early Cretaceous, about 120 million years ago. It was one of the smallest known Abelisaurids, measuring just 2 meters long, and lacked a lot of the skull specializations seen in larger-bodied late Cretaceous forms like Carnotaurus, suggesting it was more of a generalist predator. Its genus name translates to ghost hunter, due to it being found underneath the fossil remains of another dinosaur entirely, ghost unexpectedly appearing when the specimen was being prepared, but it's extra appropriate since it also helps to fill in a rather sizable ghost lineage in the fossil record of Abelisaurids. Abelisaurids were characterized by stocky hind limbs and extensive ornamentation of the skull bones, with grooves and pits. In many abelisaurids, the forelimbs are vestigial, the skull is shorter, and bony crests grow above the eyes. Cryptops is one of the earliest known of this group, and pits and impressions of blood vessels on the skull have led to the implication that it may have had a covering of keratin on its face. It isn't, unfortunately, known from much material, mainly part of the upper jaw, vertebrae, and part of the pelvis. It had a broad snout and tall vertebral spines, giving it a ridge along its back. It was a carnivore and probably preyed upon the smaller animals in the area. In 2012, Matthew Carano and colleagues, however, considered Cryptops to be a chimera, and state that its postcranial remains, found some 15 meters from the holotypic maxilla, actually belonged to a Carcharodontosaurid, possibly to Eocarcharia. Rugops name refers to the rough texture of the skull, which had numerous pits and grooves, possibly for attaching some form of ornamental structure like a crest or a display of soft tissue. Despite its fearsome appearance, it was relatively small compared to other theropods, measuring about 6 meters in length. Its size suggests it was likely a scavenger or a predator of smaller prey, rather than a top predator. It had a lightweight skull with many small holes, or foramina, which likely made it less suited for delivering powerful bites compared to other large theropods. This feature supports the idea that Rugops might have been more of a scavenger, relying on an easier meal rather than active hunting. The numerous pits and grooves on its skull suggest it might have supported a crest, horns, or other soft tissue structures used for display, either for mating or for species recognition. This makes Rugops an interesting example of the diverse ways in which dinosaurs might have used physical features for social interaction. Majungasaurus was a medium-sized theropod dinosaur from Madagascar, typically reaching 5 to 7 meters in length and weighing between 750 and 1,000 kilograms. Some larger individuals may have exceeded 8 meters. The skull was well preserved and exhibited typical abelisaurid features, such as being short but tall and robust, with a distinctive dome-like horn on its forehead. Its nasal bones were particularly thick and fused, likely covered with keratin in life. The postcranial skeleton was strong and muscular, especially in the neck, which was adapted for a powerful bite-and-hold strategy, potentially for hunting large prey like sauropods. Majungasaurus also had very short forelimbs, with reduced, immobile fingers. Notably, it displayed evidence of cannibalism, with tooth marks found on the bones of its species, making it the only confirmed cannibal among non-avian theropods. Its respiratory system showed similarities to modern birds, indicating an efficient air sac-based breathing system. Scans of its brain revealed that it was relatively small and more similar to crocodilians than birds, with a reduced flocculus, suggesting it did not rely on quick head movements for hunting. As is typical for ceratosaurs, the abelisaurid hand had 4 basic digits, but any similarity ends there. No wrist bones existed, with the 4 palm bones attaching directly to the forearm. No phalanges were on the first or fourth digits, only 1 on the second digit and 2 on the third digit. These 2 external fingers were extremely short and immobile. Indosaurus was another abelisaur, living about 69 million years ago in the Maastrichtian stage of the late Cretaceous. It was found in the Lamita Formation in India, but the first fossil found has been lost. It probably had horns above its eyes, and may have been related to the South American Carnotaurus. This is groundbreaking as it indicates that India might not have been a separate continent for as long as paleontologists think, and that South America and India might have been connected at times through land bridges. There is speculation that it is the same as the abelisaurs Indosuchus and Compsognathus, given that they were all found in similar places by the same paleontologists. This is especially interesting in light of the fact that another Carnotaurian abelisaur was found in India, Rajasaurus. Rajasaurus lived in what is now western India during the late Cretaceous, about 67 million years ago. Around 7 meters long, it had very rough textured thickened bone on the top of its snout, along with a short rounded horn on its forehead that was probably used for display or head-butting behaviors. India at this time was an isolated island continent located off the east coast of Africa, and Rajasaurus ancestors probably island-hopped across from then nearby Madagascar, where its closest known relative lived, the very similar-looking Majungasaurus. The horn of Rajasaurus could have been used for display or head-butting with other individuals. Head-butting, inferred from the lack of shock-absorbing cancellous bone in the skull, could have been both or either low-motion shoving matches like modern-day marine iguanas, or focused on the neck and the flank like giraffes. The neck muscles, though, in Abelisaurids were adapted for withstanding high stress. The horn could have been used for defending territory or for mating matches. Abelisaurids may have been ambush predators, using a bite-and-hold tactic to hunt large prey. The leg bones of Majungasaurus are comparatively short to other similarly sized theropods, suggesting the dinosaur was comparatively slower. This same condition is seen in Rajasaurus. However, ceratosaurs may have been able to rapidly accelerate. The preserved length of the excavated Scorpiovenator skeleton from the premaxilla to the 12th caudal vertebra is over 4 meters. It was estimated to have grown up to 6 meters long and weighed up to 900 kilograms. It had short, stubby, near-useless arms, but strong legs with powerful thighs and sturdy shins over which its large body was balanced. Its skull was short, stout and covered in the ridges, furrows, tubercles and bumpy nodules that are scattered over the heads of most abelisaurid theropods. It is craniocaudally short and is shorter and deeper than the skulls of Abelisaurus. Notably, the maxilla and lacrimal of Scorpiovenator are wider than in the corresponding bones of the remaining abelisaurids. It had 19 maxillary teeth, which is more than any other known abelisaurid. The shape of the crowns of the teeth is similar to other abelisaurids, and exhibit enamel wrinkles and marginal serrations. The type species of the abelisaur group, Abelisaurus, is unfortunately only known from a very damaged skull. It was estimated to be between 7 and 9 meters long, though it's hard to estimate given the lack of fossil material. Its skull has no clear signs of ornamentation, but it could have had crests made of keratin or another kind of non-fossilizable material. So, its full body has been estimated from other abelisaurid dinosaurs. It was bipedal, probably had very small and underdeveloped arms, though based on the skull Abelisaurus was a basal member of the group. It is very closely related to Carnotaurus and probably greatly resembled it. It lived in a rich dinosaur community in Patagonia. Kurupi has been named after a god of fertility and sex from Guarani mythology. According to the authors, the choice of the name is due to the fact that the fossils were found in the region of Motel Paraiso, a place intended for intimate encounters. The specific name is derived from the Tupi language and has two roots, Ita, meaning hard, and Ata, meaning rock. This name is in reference to the cemented rocks of the Monte Alto region. Together, the generic and specific name can be translated as Rockhard Kurupi, or Rockhard god of sex. The holotype consists of 3 caudal vertebrae and a partial pelvic girdle. The authors estimate that the animal was 5 meters long. It would have been a cursorial, stiff-tailed hunter. Aucasaurus was a medium-sized theropod, estimated to be about 6 meters long. It had a robust build with a relatively short, deep skull and a strong, muscular neck. The skull was notable for its high, narrow shape and rough texture, which is typical of abelisaurids. It had a distinctive bony ridge on its nasal bones, a feature not commonly seen in other theropods. This ridge, along with the overall skull morphology, suggests that Aucasaurus had a prominent and unique cranial ornamentation. Like other abelisaurids, it had very short forelimbs with reduced, almost vestigial hands. Its hind limbs were more robust and powerful, adapted for a predatory lifestyle. Its robust build and strong jaws suggest it could have been a formidable predator. Aucasaurus offers unique data due to its distinct cranial features and the specific adaptations seen in its fossil remains. The fossils were found in sedimentary rocks that have provided a relatively complete skeleton, allowing for detailed anatomical studies and comparisons with other theropods. Leucocon is very similar to Viavinator, except that it is smaller and the holes in the skull through which the veins pass are larger and more widely separated from the supraoccipital crest, among other differences. It also has a small posterior air-filled sinus in the middle ear zone, a recessus tympanicus caudalis, that has not been found in any other Abelisaurids and thus is an autapomorphy. On account of its unusual ear, it has been theorized that Leucocon had a keener sense of hearing than other Abelisaurids, almost like a crocodile's. The generic name is Mapuche for one who scares or one who causes fear, and the specific name is Latin for different skull. Studies of the Abelisaurid Pycnonomosaurus indicate that it was a much slower-growing dinosaur than other theropods, taking nearly 20 years to reach adult size. Similar studies on other Abelisaurid genera indicate that this slow maturation may have been a common trait to the whole of the Abelisauridae. Pycnonomosaurus was a predator, probably preying on titanosaurs found in the same locality. Its teeth were small yet sharp, and were used to get a hold of struggling prey as the Abelisaur shook and tore them apart. The type specimen belongs to an immature individual of uncertain ontogenetic stage, probably a subadult. Initial size estimates of this specimen put the animal at 6 meters in length, but later analyses have found that it was likely larger, being about 9 meters long. This new size estimate currently makes Pycnonomosaurus the largest formally described member of the Abelisauridae thus far. Carnotaurus is famous for its pair of prominent, curved horns above its eyes. These horns, which give it its name, are unique among theropods and suggest that it used them in display or combat, possibly for intraspecific competition. The skull is notable for its deep, narrow shape and heavily ornamented surface. It had a robust, low-slung skull with a pronounced ridge running down the center and a rough, bumpy texture. This structure may have been covered with a keratinous sheath. Like other Abelisaurids, it had very short, almost vestigial forelimbs. These limbs were much reduced compared to those of other theropods and had very small, non-functional hands with limited mobility. Fossil evidence suggests that it had a distinctive skin texture with bony, bead-like structures. These osteoderms were embedded in the skin and possibly provided extra protection or played a role in display. Carnotaurus was a medium to large-sized theropod, estimated to be around 7 to 9 meters long and weighing approximately 2 tons. Its teeth were short, conical, and slightly curved, adapted for gripping and slicing rather than chewing. This dental structure indicates that Carnotaurus likely had a feeding strategy similar to other Abelisaurids, involving strong, crushing bites. Despite its robust build, it was adapted for a certain degree of speed. Its long, slender legs and streamlined body suggest it could have been a relatively fast runner, capable of chasing down prey. Its combination of cranial ornamentation, reduced forelimbs, and specialized teeth makes it a key species for studying the evolution and diversity of Abelisaurids. Its unique features help scientists understand how different lineages of theropods adapted to their environments.